Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's movie blog. I am the critic who is a cynic, hope you're doing well, and today I am back at the theater once again, not to see the New Mutants, which yes indeed exist, but to see an early screening, at least US wise, of Tenet. Very excited. It's starting in just a few minutes, but as usual I always like to do my before reaction, my before thoughts, and then to give my review as soon as I get out of the film itself. So actually, just some changes. It looks like they've done some work around the theater, and so they've cleaned up some of the debris and some of the plants that had overgrown since it had been closed. So hopefully, the theater inside has also been taken care of, and the movie today starts on time, unlike what happened with New Mutants. But I am very excited. Christopher Nolan is one of the best filmmakers out there right now, and he of course has been very adamant about pushing for this to get a theatrical release. He's a huge proponent of movie theaters in general because the experience you get at a movie theater is nothing like what you can get at home. And so yeah, I'm very excited. Obviously critics have been very mixed on this, but to me, whenever critics are mixed on a Nolan film, to me that's actually a good sign, because critics really can't be trusted at these days. So anyway, I'm gonna go in and I'm gonna give y'all my spoiler-free thoughts as soon as I get out. See y'all in a bit. Alright, I just got out of seeing Tenet and holy crap. Basically the movie is very hard to talk about without spoiling anything, and it's a film I think you really need to go in with no pretensions, no thoughts. Don't look up anything about the plot, because I think seeing it unfold with completely no idea what was going to happen was a really awesome experience, because literally every 5 seconds you're just like, wait a minute, what just happened? What's going on now? And I think that's both a strength to this movie and a weakness, because the story for it is very well written. It's one that I really want to do more research on, just to look into the concepts that Nolan was playing with this movie. But at the same time, you really have to pay attention to every single little detail going on. And so it's just one of those things where that can be a film that people can generally enjoy, but it's also one where some people might find it a bit annoying, because there's just so much information, and there's so many quick cuts, and there's so many like fast-paced dialogue that even for me it was very hard to keep up with everything that was going on. It's a movie I think a lot of people are going to say they need to see more than once. I think there's going to be a lot of analyzing of the film, which again, I think is a credit to the story, the fact that you do have to analyze it. And this is something that we've known about Nolan for a long time. He doesn't just make very simple movies. He makes movies, especially when he has just full control over the story, and he's not making like a Batman movie, which were great, but when he actually has full control of the narrative, he loves to play around with stuff that people just don't think about, and people maybe have just never really considered before. So again, for me, the story is both a strength and a weakness, because it's so very complex, and it's just so well put together. But then at the same time too, some might find that as a downside. So I'm kind of like mixed on that. That's something that I think, just like with a lot of Nolan films, over time we'll be able to tell whether or not it was really good or really not. You know, with Inception, when we first saw it, right, you know, everything was just mind-blowing, and people loved it. But then as the movie went on, and as we saw it, and as time went on, we started to notice problems, we started to notice holes, we started to notice different issues with it. So this is a film where it could have that, but I don't think it's anything that's gonna be kind of, you know, exploded, or something that we're going to figure out anytime soon, at least just based on my own, you know, limited mindset. Acting, fantastic. Seriously, I will say this much. People have been very concerned about Robert Pattinson being the next Batman. There's moments in the movie where he's wearing a suit, and he looks, to me, kind of like a Bruce Wayne. And so I think that when people see this film, if you're one of those people concerned about Robert Pattinson being Bruce Wayne specifically, I think that this might make you less worried. I know for me, I was like, oh yeah, I could totally see this guy playing Bruce Wayne, just made with different makeup and different suit, different mindset, obviously different accent too. And yeah, but the acting, again, just, you know, fantastic. Washington does a brilliant job. It's the first major film that I've seen him in, and just all the supporting cast members. Kenneth Branagh gives just an incredible supporting role in this movie. Like seriously, I was just like, yeah, Kenneth Branagh being a total ass, and I love it. It's fantastic, and it's just, again, one of a myriad of great performances spread throughout the entire film. As I said before with the story, editing to me, again, it's very, very effective in how they do it, but sometimes I feel like it just is a little bit too quick, where again, it's very hard to keep track of what's going on. Movies like this, and I wish Nolan did this a little bit more so when he goes into the heavy topics, and when he goes especially with his very high mind thinking and high mind filmmaking, I really would love for those movies that he makes like that to be slower, so that we can digest it, so we can, try and, say, okay, I've accepted point A, and now you can move to point B. Instead, Nolan's like, all right, point A and B, C, D, it just goes on and on and on. You're just like, wait, what? That's... So the editing kind of adds to that, where it's a little bit confusing at times. But two things I think are definitely things that to me are just outstanding. Cinematography in this movie is wonderful. Like, seriously, what they were able to do with, obviously this is in the trailer, it's not really a spoiler, but what they're able to do with reverse time is just freaking brilliant. Like, seriously, kudos to the editing team on that front, and of course the cinematographer for working out those shots to work the way that they do. And also a huge shout out to the composer, because at first I was like, is this kind of, did he get oh my goodness, I'm blanking out here. Did he get Hans Zimmer to come back? Because it almost had like that heavy Hans Zimmer feel to it, but then also it kind of went off in its own direction. I was like, I don't think this is Hans Zimmer, and sure enough, it wasn't him, but the score was just freaking phenomenal. And so the score and cinematography to me are just so great, so well done, and this is what we expect. Like, I think that, I know I'm kind of just going in many directions, but if I could say, objectively speaking, I think this movie is flawless. I think, the direction is it's just fantastic. Obviously, writing is solid. Again, that's one where I think that's where I think a lot of the criticism is going to be, is specifically over the writing. Is it great? Is it not? Is it too confusing? Is it problematic? That, I think, is where you'll find a debate. But you look to cinematography, you look to score, editing, all these other things, objectively, I think that it's very, very strong. Other than the issues, as I mentioned, with story, that, again, I think time will really tell with those things. And then, of course, the editing, I think also time will play with whether or not it was something that was, supposed to be that way. But I think when you have quick cuts in a 2.5-hour movie, to me, it's like, no. 2.5 hours, it should be kind of this slow burn building up. And it's just nonstop, it's just nonstop, fast-paced editing and cuts. And again, for some people that might be a little too much, but oh my goodness, yeah, seriously. So objectively, it's great. Subjectively, I enjoyed it. There were a couple little minor things, like for me, whenever I notice people talking in the background and then they get close to that person, and you notice that what they're saying from far away is not matching the words you're hearing, and then they get close up and then everything matches. Like, that happens a couple of times, and that's something that I think happens in most movies. So if I had to look for like technical errors, that would be one of them, is that you can say, oh, wait a minute, the mouth's not matching up there from far away, but I can still see it and still tell. But again, I'm nitpicking there. So overall, I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think for my initial grade, I'm going to give it a A minus, because it's a movie I want to go back to. I think this is a movie where my score of it will definitely change over time, because the story is just so deep. And again, I don't want to give too much away with it. And I will say this much, with the ending, I feel like with the story that was being told and the way it was being told, they could have done something maybe a little bit more with the ending. But again, I think that's more of a personal opinion than anything else. I mean, when you go on a 2.5-hour journey, you kind of want this, like, oh yeah, and there's definitely moments like that towards the end of the movie. But as far as like the actual ending, you're like, okay, I think, you kind of want that Inception moment where you have the top spinning. And it's one where it doesn't really go in that direction. And so that might upset some people. It might make some people, totally content. I think anyone that's a fan of Nolan's going to love this movie. If you love films like Inception or Interstellar, where it makes you think a little bit more and it's more of that high mind type film, I think that you'll love this movie. If you're looking for just a general film that you can watch and, shove popcorn in your mouth, I don't know if this is the one for you. There's some really great action sequences, especially the opening one reminded me so much of the opening scene to The Dark Knight, where it's just so great, so well done, and just, hardcore action. I know a lot of people have been saying kind of mixed reviews online about the sound. I will say, in IMAX, the sound was so loud that all the background noise, all of the gunshots and music was just very booming. I could still hear the voices and make out a lot of it, but as I mentioned, a lot of it is very fast-paced dialogue with quick cuts, and so part of me thinks that maybe some of the sound issues are not necessarily the theater's configuration or even the way the film's edited as far as like sound mixing and sound editing goes. but rather just the way that the film is set. So this is a movie that I would love to see, I think, on 4K, where I can control the environment more, I can control the sound and how it, how it appears. I can have subtitles on, so that way I can follow every bit of dialogue and just dive directly. Again, this is a movie that I think I will end up buying on 4K, because special features on this thing, I'm just assuming are going to be insanely awesome. And again, going further into the lore of this film is just great. So anyway, let me know your thoughts. Have you seen Tenet? Again, movie theaters are opening up across the country. Very sorry if you're living in a state that is not open yet, but let me know your thoughts about Tenet. And again, as I said, this is a spoiler-free review, and if I said anything that for you is a spoiler, I'm sorry, but I talked about no major plot points. I only talked about things that were mentioned in the trailer, and I try to stay mostly to objective cinematic elements. And so this is a movie, I think, that can be studied, just like I think Interstellar could be studied, I think Inception could be studied. This is another movie where I think it could be studied, especially for filmmakers, and I think it's one that a lot of people will enjoy, but I can totally see why some might not be crazy. But it all comes down to the story. Basically, it reminds me a lot of the reaction that Inception got when it first came out. But anyway, let me know your thoughts about this comment section below. If you like this video, smash that like button, hit that subscribe. It helps out a lot. You're all amazing and beautiful people. I hope you all have a wonderful night, and as always, God bless.
And now a huge shout out to all of my August Patreon and Subscribestar members. Starting on Patreon, Albertus Magnus, animation commentator, Brian P., David Bobrizik, Dion, Divex, Enrique Evangelista, Father Christopher Miller, Hail Father, Father Damian Cook, Frank the Tank and the Shawhan Wiener Dog Clan, Harold Francis, the Hunka Chunky Funky Monkey, Inflamed Wood, It's a Trap Productions, Jason Clark, Jacob Juice, Jeffrey Toon, Jonathan Carney, Kenneth Cameo, Lady T, Laura Story, Mad Mitch Dunaway, Mike Jackson, Mr. Peabody and his evil twin with the beautiful hair, On to June, Orange Hat Reviews, Out of Step with Reality, Riff Magos, Rosetta Allen, Steve Glasker, Teresa Martin, Theodore Bendon, Tina Bojan, and Tina B., my Valkyrie and Empress of the Universe. Thank you so much for supporting me on Patreon. And also, shout out to my Subscribestar peeps, Stand For, John B., Perpetual Punster, Robert Revo, Mr. Roy, Glinzer, Darkstar 57, J. Alex McCarthy Jr., US 888209 Fast, Dean Heiss, Harold Francis, J-Rod the Beer Guru, Nebadon G. Adams, and ZK-Man, and Outpost Dyer. Thank you all so very much for supporting me this month. You guys are freaking awesome. If you want your name shouted out at the end of every single video and live stream, and also if you want to have access to special perks like giveaways and an exclusive podcast that I do with fellow YouTuber John the Flick Pig Flickinger, please check out Patreon, Subscribestar, and YouTube memberships in the links below. You guys are all awesome. I love you to death. Have a wonderful day, and as always, God bless.